Welcome to another episode of the Inkwell podcast. I'm your host, Todd Rayner, and today we have a very talented writer artist to bring on, and let's get him in here. And is it Antonios?
Yeah, you can call me Antonios, but Anthony's fine as well. So either one.
All right, Anthony. Well, nice to have you on. Haven't really met you. This is like kind of the first time meeting you. I mean, I think we've been friends on social media, but yeah, it's really cool. The campaign looks great, and we'll get into that here. But for a lot of the first time or new viewers, what I like to do is just kind of open up a little bit, talk a little bit about yourself. There's a few questions, I kind of want to get through, and then we'll just get right into it here. So, what really inspired you to create like your own indie book?
Oh wow. I guess probably. I think it was just always wanting to tell my own story and my own take on fantasy and just do
Hmm.
something a bit different. I have worked for other like on other comics, other indie comics with other like companies and stuff. We just did a few books back in the day. They were very indie and they were fun to do, but I was just like, I really want to create my own world, my own story, and I guess I enjoy the world building aspect. And
Hmm.
um, yeah, just that's the I guess it's one of my passions. And I'm actually like a full time artist. So I sell paintings. I've done commission work, but when you're doing commissions for other people, you're not really telling. Or even if you paint your own paintings, if it doesn't have a story, it could just be a painting of
Hmm.
a duck or whatever you're painting, and
Yeah,
it might you got to put a story and a meaning behind the art. So I've always, even my art has a very narrative feel. So yeah,
it does. Just taking a look at your campaign, there's a lot of fantasy in there, a lot of really cool, looks like dragons and fun stuff. So, yeah, dragons tell their own story, just in general. That's interesting. Um, was there any kind of formal training? I know I talked to a lot of like writers and artists, and most of us that are in the independent comic book scene, we just kind of learned as we went. Some of us have, formal education. Is there anything for you?
well, I did kind of formally study at university illustration and design
Hmm.
at um, university in South Australia because I'm from Adelaide, and but then I felt that that course was a good kind of foundation course, but really didn't get enough of what I needed. So I studied online in America. So I went
Hmm.
and learned with the Noman Workshop, I think in California. So I
Hmm.
studied. I did like I basically did online courses, did all the online courses, and then I also entered in their contest called the Noman Workshop contest, like the art 2D art contest. And
Hmm.
after a year, I started winning them, and that got me noticed by a few game studios, publishing houses, and stuff. And yeah, that was where I met one of the other artists that helped me on the first graphic novel, Rob Richardson. He's in Florida, so yeah, I guess that train it was like a training ground because we kind
Hmm.
of push each other to compete. Like
Yeah.
I met him in the forums, and like I'd be like, hey, like he messaged me. He's like, oh, your work is really cool, and then I'm like, yeah, yours is good. And then we had this like banter going on, like I'm going to beat you this month, and I'm going to beat you this week. It's a joke. And but he ended up helping me, and I helped him, and like he helped me get work, and yeah, so yeah, it was. I think it was just like again, still studying, and I'm still learning. There's always more to learn.
Hmm.
Like I feel like I could always get better at my art. There's never like it never ends. I guess as you probably
No.
know with writing and art, you always want to learn more. So
Yeah, it is. There's always different styles to explore, different characters to even explore, just draw differently. And it's a challenge. Every panel, every page, every character, it has its own challenges with it. That's
yeah,
kind of a fascinating, having that professional background. I feel it gives you a lot of foundation. And not to say that if you don't go to school, you don't get that foundation, but I also have formal training in design and stuff like that. So I feel that it really does help. It helps you understand like what's behind the finished product, whether it be the
yeah.
Skeletor system, things like that. I think that really does help.
I
And
think like back in the day, they did have like proper training on anatomy and drawing
mhm,
in the art school and design, and you learn about page layout, graphic design, all that sort of stuff. Because I did a combination of studying graphic design, visual art, but
mhm.
I don't think the education system or in Australia is changing very rapidly now. And I've even heard of they're implementing AI into the
Oh,
classes, and I'm like,
oh man.
why? I
Yeah.
go so. But yeah, I guess that's just how it is. I feel blessed that I went through the proper way, and
Hmm.
at the same time, what you know, I don't think university gave me enough. Like it just didn't like studying anatomy of dragons or whatever anatomy of creatures, should I say, animals, humans, and got some birds fighting in my ceiling for some reason. Talking about animals, but I mean studying life, like there's so much. University can only go so far. Whereas if you go to like a private college, like Noman Workshop or wherever, I mean, I also did some workshops in Australia called Concept
Hmm.
Design Workshop Australia, and they bring some of the best concept artists in games and film and comics there. And that feel that more industry focused study is way better. Like the university is good to start off with, but
Hmm.
doing two
Hmm.
years industry focused study was just the bomb. It was just like ah
Yeah.
that they don't teach you at university. And I guess like most university degrees, I don't know what they are in America, but they're usually like 3 years for an art degree.
Hmm.
So there really isn't enough time for them to go over everything anyway. So
Right.
yeah, not
Yeah.
not poo pooing the universities. They don't really have much time to teach everything. And they've got
Yeah.
budgets and stuff, and they
Right.
cut back on. So yeah, but
No, and I would say here it's typically either like a 2 year, 4 year degree, depending on what kind of degree you want to get. But I also feel that I ended up learning more once I graduated than what I learned in college. So there's this balance of having the foundation is very important, and having the discipline, because just going to classes and having that deadline and having these projects that you have to do and challenge yourself. And
yeah,
that's the professors, that's their job, is to challenge their students. I feel that like once you're out in the real world and like you're talking about these more specific industry focused workshops, that's like working, right? That's like in that industry. This is what they expect. This is the quality.
it gives you a taste, and you get to see what quality other people are working at, and you're like,
Hmm.
wow, I've got to match that, or be
Yeah.
not as in it's a competition, because you're going to do art your own way, but it's definitely that kind of wake up call to be like, okay, I got to get even better than like
Hmm.
even if I got high grades at college or whatever at university. Now those grades don't matter. Like it
No.
doesn't like you could get high distinction. They don't matter because like the industry doesn't care about that. They just care about like, do you actually truly know the foundations of anatomy? Do
Hmm.
you really know how to draw an environment, or can you really storyboard well, and you
Hmm.
know and then like I've worked in advertising, I've worked in film, I've worked in games, and all they care about is can you draw what they want you to draw that day.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
if they're drawing octopuses or pirate ships, or they're drawing um, I don't know, cars for that week because they've got a
Yeah.
car movie or a car advert. If you can draw that Audi the way they want you to draw that Audi, that's all they don't care about any degrees. They just care, can you get the job done? Can you
Right.
make it creative? Can you follow orders, or can you come up with something even better?
Right.
So
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's also that translates very well into independent comics, as we kind of wear many hats. We're marketers and creators, writers, artists, letterers, everything. I think having those disciplines, like being able to turn things in, the artists that kind of are able to be around the longest are the ones that really turn in the work. And I think being our own boss, we can be lazy and say, you know what, today I'm not gonna finish this page. I'm not gonna do that. But I think it does a disservice to the fans. Whereas the more you're able to be consistent, the fans start to grow and they start to gravitate towards your product, the ones that really like it.
yeah, definitely. I think you got to be accountable to what you're making,
Yeah,
and just if you don't like if you don't finish your project, or if something's missing in it, you really have to make it work, or else because
exactly.
they won't buy it, like at the end of the
Right.
day. So yeah.
Yeah, and
So
I know you're on volume 3 of graphic novel here. So what
Yes, yes.
over the first two and now you're on the third one, what has motivated you to really continue publishing these graphic novels?
I guess for me, it's always been like I want to. This is well, this book, volume three. There is kind of like an end, not an ending to the series, but there's a really good closure with this, with the main
Okay.
character. I've actually done three graphic novels, yes, but there's also two other books with the series. So there's an illustrated novel it's an illustrated novel I did over COVID, or at the end of COVID,
Hmm.
2021. It came and that is part of the book series as well, called Tavern of Dreams. And I also did a spin off story about Greek goblins, so to speak.
Hmm.
They're part of the universe, and that was a spin off comic. That was a 28-page issue. And that could be turned into a graphic novel, but I'm going to leave that one there for now. But I guess for now, we really want to get some closure on the main character because people have been kind of asking me what's happening to Thrakos. You know, he's got to go
Hmm.
through some sort of it's about a wizard. He's a wizard that's going through some sort of transmutation. He has to get to this dream world to be baptized in these waters. So he thinks anyway, and he has to get baptized to become a mage and stop turning into a demonic creature. Like he's growing like a demon's tail, horns,
Hmm.
and he's got to figure out why this is happening and get stabilize his powers. But yeah, for me, I do it for the love of it. At the moment, where we could talk about the project soon, but I guess for me, I, I mean, you always want to make more money, make it more profitable, obviously.
Yeah.
But I just want it to fun to have closure, and I'm not.
Hmm.
It is take a good 6 months to get together, and I have been doing the art on and off the last few years. But for me, it closes off a chapter for a while, and
Right.
I'm not sure series, but I'm just going to be able to take a big break and go look. Um, it's really interesting because the Kickstarter landscape has really changed. Where
Hmm.
when we first started books in 2016, we started with single issues. I was going from single issues, and now it's graphic novels.
Hmm.
And I actually raised more money. Not beating myself up here. I've raised more money on a single issue so far versus a graphic novel, which is quite scary. And I feel like the landscape is gotten more competitive. It's more challenging.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm starting to think, as much as I loved Kickstarter for comics, I don't think it's the greatest way. Like maybe there's another way, like finding a publisher or
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
taking it to Dark Horse or Image Comics and trying that. Um, but yeah, for me, it's just it closes off a chapter. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while because I'm like fans have been asking for it, but now I can spin it back to the fans. Well, where were you on the Kickstarter? So
Exactly. Exactly.
we've got 51 backers, but I was hoping for 100 to 200. And look,
Okay.
I'm looking at funds. I think it's at about 67%. I think I'm just double
Hmm.
checking now. 68% funded. So we could fund. I think it's going to fund, but it's definitely not going to be. It's not a profitable venture, and it's not always about
Right.
profit. And I even into this thinking I took 4 months, 3 months to push it and market it, but it is a challenge, as you know. Probably,
Hmm.
running books. I've had books that have had $20,000 for their book for the books.
Yeah.
I've had really good books before 20 to 30,000. And so for me, it is a love, but obviously you can't just survive on love, as they say. You
Yeah.
have to have the
No,
bills
exactly.
paid.
Uh, Yeah, so I mean, you bring up kind of a nice segue into the next question is what are your biggest challenges? I get a huge spectrum of answers from every person that, comes on the show. So I'm just curious, like, what are some of your biggest challenges?
I feel that the biggest challenges right now is marketing, like getting
Hmm.
enough people, enough eyes on your book. I just feel that we are living in an attention economy,
Yeah.
and just it is not the landscape for readership has changed. People, whether my audience has grown up and had kids, or this is the other thing, you constantly. I was actually talking to the creator of Enhanced yesterday. That
Hmm.
that was a graphic novel that did Italian creator. He raised I think 200K for volume
Oh,
three.
wow.
Yeah, it enhances the book. It's a cyberpunk style book, and kind of like cyberpunk 2020. What is it? 2077 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But he was saying that the people that backed his book on volume one, like probably only like 10% came back in volume three, and it's got nothing to do with how good your
Hmm.
book is. He pumped so much money into Facebook ads and marketing, and I did a little bit, but I just felt like I'm not like I'm trying to get the ads right. I'm still running an ad now, just a small ad,
Hmm.
just to see, and it did work. We got like two backers, but it's this that constant challenge of having to find new people, and
Hmm.
even what the biggest challenge is getting people to the platform. Like I've got
Right.
fans that love my work. Like I had these three fans came up to me at Melbourne in Supernova. So I'm one of the resident comic guests for Supernova,
Hmm.
and they're beautiful fans. Like they always buy every freaking comic off me. Every time there's a new book, I gotta get that book. And
Yes.
one customer like, I've got that book, and she's like, don't worry, I'm going to back your Kickstarter, and it's crickets. I haven't seen
Yeah.
those three fans, and it's whether they don't like online shopping,
Yeah.
and they think he'll get it funded, and I'll just buy it later at the next convention you know. So for me, that's kind of disheartening, and it's like, and I'm not pissing on the fans or having a go at them, but I am in a way. I'm just saying, like, if you want this book to fund, you need to back creators. If you want their
Right.
books to come to life, we can't do it without you. And if you don't want it, like based on the response as well, we may even shelve the series for a while and move on to something else. I'm not giving up on my brand.
Hmm.
It's that's the challenge, and that's the thing is like the reality is if you don't have enough of an audience, and I'm like, it's really funny. I'm not even upset about it anymore. I kind of was a bit depressed. I was like, damn, like where are the $20,000 book days going? But my assistant was like, wow, you've really pivoted, because what I decided to do is I've gone to YouTube and I'm starting to do. I'm repurposing the comic and some new characters. We're working on a card game next and
Okay.
a video game based in our series. So we're not
Hmm.
going into video game card games, and we're turning our comics into animated shorts. We're doing like funny D&D fantasy
Hmm.
movie trope, and we're doing like animations, funny 30-40 second animations, and they're actually getting traction. We've hit 4,000 views on some of these, 2,000, and we're consistently getting thousands of views on
Yeah.
funny videos of the main characters, and it's helping to push the book as well. But it's like it's about, I actually started out as an animator. I forgot to mention that too. I studied flash animation back in the day, and 3D and 2D animation. And I'm
Hmm.
like, I need to go back. It's also like an awakening. You go back to your roots and you go, well, if we're living in an attention economy, and it's only big boobs and women, and NSFW comics is getting attention, and it's only
Right.
you know gritty, dark comics. Like mine is very light-hearted, fantasy, funny,
Hmm.
um, like Lord of the Rings, with a touch of comedy, and it's kind of like Marvel meets Lord of the Rings. That
Hmm.
comedy that you get in the Marvel movies, but high fantasy.
Yeah.
Um, but the reality is, uh, I was looking at it and going, well, maybe that I don't see many high fantasy graphic novels out there, and maybe we need to pivot to different mediums. And then once we get a bigger audience online and we figure out what the issue is, we can come
Yeah.
back to the books, continue the series, or we pivot to another character in the series and just go down that route. And that's why I want to have closure on this book, get it funded, and
Hmm.
then go, you know this is what's happened. Audiences over 10 years of comics, audiences change. That's the reality
Yeah.
of it. And literally listening to the creator of Enhance, having a chat with him yesterday because he's mentoring me.
Hmm.
He basically turned around and said, "Look, dude, there's nothing wrong with your work. You've got a very cool style. I love it. He basically turned around and said that, yeah, it just really is. You lose your audience every book. Like you have to bring new people on
Right.
Kickstarter every book.
Yeah.
And unless you're running comics back to back, like if you launch like one graphic novel or one issue, and then 4 months later or 5 months later, I think within 6 months, if you do another every book every 6 months, you can kind of use that traction from Kickstarter to grow an audience. Then I've heard people as well that drops off unless you start pumping money into advertising or
Yeah. Yeah.
promoting. That does drop off, but that is the biggest challenge. It's not the art making. I'm very driven. Like I said,
Hmm.
I had 20 pages pre-painted. To be fair, over the last few years, I've been painting illustrations
Hmm.
and then I turned them into comic book pages. Like I actually did real life
Nice.
paintings, and I really did about 24 pages of comics in the
Hmm.
last probably 5 months. So yeah, I guess that's the biggest thing. It's not the art or having the drive to get up every day and paint. It's the fans, and I'm a bit of an attention whore. I love it when people look at my stuff, but I get down when people are not looking at my stuff as much. You kind of start to question yourself, and you think,
Hmm.
all right, I'm going to pivot, and I pivoted, and I found something else which might be a little bit better.
Yeah.
So
I,
yeah,
yeah, when you touch about marketing, it that is for me that's one of the biggest things as well. I'm definitely not a social, super social person, but I love going to conventions and I love being around those people and that crowd and hearing fan support and just kind of being out there. But outside of me making my own comics, I'm not very social. But the marketing side is super challenging and it's very hard whether you're doing, like meta ads or Instagram, Facebook, whatever, even stuff for YouTube. You really don't know the ROI on that. So, I mean, kudos that you were able to get a couple backers off of those ads, but they want you to pump a ton of money into the ads and you're just not going to get that kind of return. You're not going to see
no,
a growth of like $1,000 in your Kickstarter. You know what I mean?
yeah. And that's why we're coming to this channel. So
Yeah.
maybe you can tell your
Well, I
friends about
appreciate
it.
it. It's I've done some ads for Kickstarters, but I'm not even my Kickstarters are considerably lower than yours. But I mean that's the expectation I have, right? It's always about setting the proper expectation, managing those expectations.
The reality of it, though, is also it's not about even if, like I said, even if the book sells well, I'm going to
Hmm.
have late pledge active. Like, even if it doesn't do well, and we just get the funding, which I'm totally incredibly grateful for. Still, I'm not, like I don't want to sound like I'm a greedy person, but I'm totally grateful for what I get. The reality is, I'm going to have late pledges on this book activated, so
Hmm.
that way next time a customer comes up and goes, "When's your next book coming out?" If we've sold out of the first print, I'm going, go on the Kickstarter now, and you have to get a late
Yeah.
pledge backing, and I'm going to reprint another 100 copies as soon as I get to 10 grand. And because
Okay.
I think with late pledges, what is it with late pledges? You can that the timer keeps sorry the amounts keeps on going up, doesn't it? With late pledges, you can
Yeah.
see it, and yeah, you see how much is being put
Yeah.
into it. So
Yeah, it'll say that it reached its funding goal, but then you have late pledges and you can continue to do stuff, which is good. That's a nice option. Speaking of
yeah,
it, let's get into your Kickstarter and tell us all about it. I mean, you've dove into some of it, which is interesting just on its own, but tell us more about it.
what do you want to know, man? Because like as you can hear, I talk a lot. So yeah, I'll shut up for once. So
Give us
just ask us.
everything.
Oh
I
god,
mean, you have dragons, which I love
yeah,
dragons. I actually did a few issues on dragons myself. But yeah,
yeah,
tell us what kind of just the background, the story, the characters.
yeah. So the story starts with. So if you want to go down, I think you see the main character. Well, that's the goblins and their ships. That's up. Then below that is Arturios. He's
Hmm.
and that young boy there is Thrakos. And right now, they just went from the docks of Adaros, which is like a little village where they had a quest there, and they're going to the Isles of Nerostros. See, Thrakos is going on a hero's journey. His mother saved the planet last time, but she went
Hmm.
missing. He did find her in Volume One where she was. She's doing something to protect the world, and he has to figure out why what's going on with his powers. Why is he turning evil? Why is he getting haunted in his dreams? And so the premise of this world is there's the captivaries and the luminaries. So the captivaries draw and capture enemies on a page. That's that. So, or they can even capture items. They can capture a whole house. They can draw and capture things on a page. They're called
Hmm.
the captivaries. Then there's the luminaries that draw and bring monsters to life. And
Cool.
then there's this third school of magic called the Chosen. They can wield weapons, many dream artifacts without any penalties. And they believe they have the power of manifestation through thought and movement. So there might be a chosen in a dungeon with like 20 goblins around him, and he might be fighting all these goblins. And next minute, he starts thinking of bulls. And next minute, a stampede of bulls just comes through the dungeon out of nowhere. And they can't control those powers yet because they don't. There's no
Hmm.
official school. They have to master their bodies and their minds. and the chosen are the manifestors, whereas the luminaries draw and bring things to life, and the captivaries
Hmm.
capture. There's a whole world based on that. We've also got D&D books. We had a $70,000 D&D book in 2024. In the Year of the Dragon, we did very well. The dragon
Nice, nice.
succeeded
Yeah.
making a D&D book, which is funny, triple whammy with the dragon luck.
Hmm.
Um, we have a video game. Like I said, if you back this now for $15, you can get a digital comic, but you also get access to our jigsaw game. You can go down there and have a look at it later. But where
Hmm.
all my art, I've done like 300 paintings since 2010 of my own. I've probably got more than that if I go into the art hard drives. I'm doing luminous jigsaw puzzles with a developer in South Australia, in Adelaide. He's a really cool guy. He's developed two games on Steam, and we're doing jigsaw puzzles on Steam as well. So to celebrate 10 years of comics, so
Hmm.
that's going ahead regardless. We're doing that regardless, and but yeah, fans will be able to have early access to the game. They'll be able to play the game, and yeah, it'll be all good. So that game comes out in October, November, but yeah, people will be able to play it in Next Fest in June. So
Okay.
only a month away, you'll be able to access and start playing two puzzle packs. We're also doing a narrative puzzle where you go around the world with a dwagon. It's a dragon that's got a wagon on his back. It's a horrible pun here. So
That sounds fun.
yeah. So you go to one city, you complete an environment painting that I've done, and then once you unlock that puzzle, finish it, the wagon moves to the next city, and you finish off that puzzle. So it's more narrative with dialogue and stuff. But then
Hmm.
we're gonna have that. But anyway, this book is 48 pages, full color art. A lot of these have been acrylic paintings that fans have commissioned as well, even beforehand. Like fans paid me to do paintings of my dragons, which was really a great honor. Sorry,
Hmm.
my phone just got um, and yeah, I guess yeah did went from there. I think that pretty much answers everything. You can buy Volume One still as a hardcover. We've got two D&D books. We've got Luminous Law, which is a massive setting guide and campaign. Got the Byzane Book of Monsters. Those are very limited copies left. Only about 100 of the Byzane Book of Monsters. Only 300 of the Luminous Law left, or 350, something like that. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we don't. Volume two, the Byzay comic is out of print, and
Okay.
so is the Goblin, and so is the Tavern of Dreams. They're digitally available. We were hoping that if we raise more money, we'd be able to reprint those, but that may not
Hmm.
happen. So basically, but yeah, they're out of print. I'm actually going to start selling USBs with all my books on them at the next convention. So like, hey, you want these all my books? You get the USB with every single book on it for $80 or whatever it is on a
Yeah.
USB, a dragon USB, so to speak.
That's a
So
really cool idea. Like you're talking about pivoting. I mean, that's one way where kind of embracing technology into
yeah,
giving fans, full access.
yeah, totally. So
Yeah,
yeah,
the art's phenomenal. It's really fun. It definitely has that D&D fantasy vibe to it.
yeah. So majority of the art, 80% of the art is me. Then I have brought on other artists to kind of help me because I'm traveling
Hmm.
and selling at conventions a lot. I have
Yeah.
Rob Richardson in America, then Brazilian artist Rod Ramos Rodolfo, and then a Polish artist Dmitry Yukovsky, who helped a little bit.
Hmm.
But then it's all me. I'm the art director. I'm the artist. I like I said, paint 80 pages. Say of this book, out of this book, I painted 44 pages. I got about five. I got help on with from Rod Ramos. He just penciled, but I'm still rendering them all up because it's not
Okay.
the American traditional American style. I've gone more the Italian style
Hmm.
or whatever, that more painterly style. So yeah, and there's a lot of tiers there. I've got to add the add-ons back in. I'm fixing up the graphics, but there's a lot of things as add-ons.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but they're the main rewards. You can buy digitally all the books. You can get but like basically, there's still you're going to be able to get three physical books anyway. You're going to be able to get this graphic novel is available still. We've got a few hundred copies left of that. You're going to be able to get the new comic, and you're going to be able to get the D&D two D&D books. So really, it's four books you could purchase with the project,
Okay.
and the others would be digital. Because, like I said, they both raised 20K, and you think like this is the problem with self-publishing. You've got to constantly find the funds to reprint books.
Yes.
That's the other challenge as well. And that's why I'm starting to think. Start like even, I'm not shelving this. I think it's time. Fans go, "When's Volume 4 coming out?" I'm going to be like, I'm looking for a publisher." So
Yeah.
it's that, and that's the problem is it's getting too big in terms of there's so many books now, and it needs a publisher. So yeah,
Well, I will shamelessly plug a indie distributor and a guy I'm really good friends with, Phil Russert. He's here based in the
yes,
U.S. East Coast, but he does print on demand services, and he also distributes independent books in America. So I think he's got a few overseas as well. But I mean, that's just for guys like us. It's just another avenue of get more eyes on your project. You
I
know.
am friends with him on I am friends with him on Facebook, and I have talked to him, and he said he's working out something with Australia. So
Hmm.
I'm definitely open to that. So I'm thinking of something like that where if he's got distribution, he can get it into shops for me.
Yeah.
Then we can then get the ball rolling. And I don't think Trump has put VAT taxes on comics yet, so don't jinx it, Anthony. So
Oh, don't get me started. I'm sure that's somewhere down the pipeline next year. You
oh
know,
no, I hope not. I hope not.
I hope not either.
I heard one of his billionaire friends loves printing and owns lots of printing presses and doesn't want that
Yeah,
to happen. So
yeah, but
you know, I think he's lined his pockets. So God
it's
bless
def
America.
yeah.
I don't want to say anything bad. So I won't get banned or
uh,
cancelled. I
it's
have
a
a lot
struggle
of
some
American.
days.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. I have a lot of good American friends and people
Hmm.
that I've worked with, and I've been to the US as well. So I actually was invited. So Luminous Ages Volume One. I did 3 issues and a volume. It raised about 20K, and it was one of Australia. It was at the time it was Australia's top fantasy series, number one, and it was
Nice.
the second highest Kickstarter in general in 2018. And that I sent that to New York Comic Con, saw it. Some
Hmm.
organizers that read there saw it, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to come to New York Comic Con?" And they basically funded passes and stuff for me to go there, and that
Yeah,
was an amazing experience. I also got a grant from the government in Australia. They funded they matched. They said as long as if you raise 10K, we can give you up to 10K. But I raised more than that, and they gave me a 10K bonus, which helped cover the trip to the US and the printing. And that was
yeah,
a really good experience to network. And New York Comic Con is just another level of Comic Con. It's nothing
it
like
is.
Australian shows. Australian shows are good, but we might get maximum at a really. I mean, PAX has 80,000 people. That's a big
Hmm.
video game festival.
Yeah,
But most conventions we'll get is maybe 30, 50,000 if it's a really big superstar, like say it's someone from Star Wars or
hmm.
some right after that's a triple A guest, like God rest his soul, Chuck Norris when he came, the stadium
Oh
was
yeah,
packed. You
yeah, I
know,
bet.
yeah. So but most of the time, the Australian shows are 20 to 30,000 people. But you go to New York Comic Con, it's like 200,000 people, and it was like, yeah,
Yeah.
wow, it was hard, yeah,
It's massive. New York, obviously, San Diego is probably still the largest in the States. I'm up here about Seattle, and then they have Emerald City Comic Con, which is another gigantic show. I had the pleasure of doing that last year, and
yeah.
it just, I've gone to the show as a fan, and you see the crowds and you see the people, but then when you're there behind a table, it's a whole different ballgame. So yeah, it's definitely.
Do you find that you're selling a lot? Do you find that you're selling a lot, or do you find that people aren't coming up as much, or do you find that it's just crazy busy? How do you find it?
All of the above. It's a very strange thing because for me, my art is very superhero and very 90s image. My first story arc is all superhero stuff. The next one is a little bit more femme fatale, where it's just strong female characters fighting a dragon. My latest series is a horror series, so I have kind of different genres. But when I was there last year, I felt it was more anime, more pop culture, not necessarily
Mm,
comic book focused.
mm,
And I think a lot of the larger conventions are doing that as opposed to focusing on like local or independent comic books. And a lot of the major companies aren't there. Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, none of the major companies were there. So it was a great experience and I did pretty well at the show. But again, it's kind of like you almost expected more. because it's
Yeah,
such
yeah.
a big show, you know?
Yeah, it's really is. There is it. I just find that pop culture is very, and this is the problem. Like, there less readers, people reading books now?
Hmm.
This is why we are pivoting to animated content. Because for me, it's like, what is? I looked deep down in myself and I said, what is the dream for me? I'd be like, make my own animated series, get on it,
Hmm.
get sold to Netflix or something like that. And then I thought, well, why don't I just do the animations myself? So if you go
Hmm.
to YouTube, look, you see some funny stuff now. If you want to have a look at YouTube, so not go to YouTube, Luminous Ages on YouTube. You'll be able to see some funny stuff. You can tell me if it's bad. So yeah, just type that in on YouTube and then see how you go. There we go. So yeah, you pick on. It's just funny shorts of the characters talking and doing stuff.
Hmm.
This one's horribly bad. So you might need to put up the volume.
Of Doom. That sounds illegal. I cast Farticus Maximus. You've cursed the ozone layer, Master.
Worth it. Felt powerful. I'm sure he won't be giving us any riddles.
Master,
Yeah,
how are we going to defeat this
a few others
Sphinx?
as well. They're not all fart jokes. So I promise. So
Now, Thrakos, if you can, focus on this stone to get through to the portal and make it to the next area. I'm trying, Master, but my magic doesn't seem to be working. Haha, just joking. You can walk through this portal easily. Ah, damn, you got me. Now, Thrakos, if you can, focus.
Master, I need a potion of healing. My leg is sore.
Here, take this, my boy.
It's doing nothing, but I feel happier.
Whoops. Gave you a potion of emotional healing.
Master, I need a potion of healing. My leg is sore.
Here, take this, my boy.
Nice.
It's doing nothing.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Well done.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's not about giving up. It's about pivoting and also
Hmm.
like kind of going. How else can we make the comic books engaging and you know, it, it, obviously get attention and get people watching and making things a little bit more interesting. So, but yeah, like I said, um, let's just hope it finishes funds and you can tell
Hmm.
your people to back it or friends or fans, or you might want to get a copy. I don't know. Talk to Philip.
I'm
He'll print it
liking it,
for
so I might have to sign up and get a copy here. I love fantasy stuff. Fantasy, sci-fi, horror. Those are kind of my favorite genres out there.
you. Same
So
here,
yeah,
man.
it looks great. I definitely would recommend this. I mean, this is a lot of volumes, a lot of storytelling.
Yeah, and I also do covers for other people. So if there's like a cover you want, I'm happy to paint gorgeous babes with the dragon. If you ever need a cover artist, so happy to collaborate. I'm definitely work for hire after this book is finished. I'm definitely
Hmm.
taking on more commitments. They help pay the bills, and it
Yeah.
keeps the love of comics alive. Like even if my series takes a break for a while,
Right.
well. I mean, I'm going to need a break because I'm tired. This is tiring,
Yeah.
um, But I'm like, I still want to work on other comic book covers. I'm really open to doing covers for people, sequentials if I'm paid like enough, but definitely want to
Yeah.
do covers for people. I enjoy doing covers because I like more end detailed art. I'm more into
Hmm.
the painterly covers and stuff. So yeah, but yeah, if you need a job done, I'm there for you. So
Yeah. And so we went, on YouTube, but where can people find you out there?
yeah, obviously YouTube's one of them. I'm on Kickstarter as Luminous Ages. You can drop in the link there. I have a website. My main website is achristouart.com. There is a luminousages.com website as well you can buy it from, but I mainly use achristouart a lot because there's more products on there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, like I said, the biggest one is YouTube. I am really focused on that. I have a Discord channel for our games as well. Um, but really, you find everything through the YouTube because I've got most of my links out. I'm pretty sure I've
Okay.
got a link to my store, but the webcomic, the Kickstarter link as well. So you'll be
Hmm.
able to
Hmm.
find everything on my YouTube. But I have a mailing list through my website. So if you join my website at achristouart.com, you can sign up to my website at achristouart.com. That allows
Uh-huh.
you to join the mailing list as well. Um, that's about it. And obviously, if you're in Australia, I do all the comic conventions in Australia. So, I'm usually at most of them, Supernova or Comic Con, selling my art and comics there.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that's about it, really. And like I said, you might see me viral on YouTube. But feel free to subscribe and see all the funny memes. And
absolutely. Yeah, no,
yeah,
it's I'll be sure to put in all the links when this video drops, and we'll get out there and promote and support and do the best we can to get this funded, and
yeah,
hopefully more successful Kickstarters.
yeah, for sure. And if you need a hand with any sort of promoting of your books or like anything, I'm always happy to help and promote everyone else. So it's got to love sharing the love is the way to go.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I've
I
always been
appreciate that. Yeah.
always about the
Um,
comic book community and helping out. So
yeah, I mean, well said. And on that note, I think we'll wrap up this episode. It's been a pleasure talking with you, Anthony. Getting to know you, getting to know your characters, your ideas, your stories, your passions. That's really what this channel is all about. Having creative people on here to talk about what they do and what keeps them going. So I appreciate you being on. And on that note, we will see you on the next episode. Thank you.
yeah, thank you for having me.
All right.